In recognition of SEL Day, I want to welcome you to the celebration of SEL Day 2023 webinar, Empowering Kids with Skills for Life. If you're joining us for the live event or for the recording, we know that even just 1 hour of your time is hard to come by. So we plan to make the most of it. We are going to have some time today to hear some research and gain insights from educators and students and social emotional learning, how it helps kids manage emotions, set goals, and build positive relationships, among many other important things they will use for life. We have some special guests that I will introduce here in just a moment, and we have a few other surprises and more. So let's get started. My name is Jennifer Sanderlin. I am for those of you who are just listening, I have blonde hair, I'm wearing black rim glasses, and I have a black and white sweater on. I am also the Education Partnerships Development Manager with Committee for Children. I get to support our team across the country to work with schools and districts, nonprofit organizations, and state leaders on their social emotional learning, bullying prevention, and child protection efforts. I've been in education doing lots of different roles for about 25 years and just celebrated about 10 of those years here at Committee for Children. I am joined today by my colleague and co-host and fellow life skills champion, Wesley Drelishak, who will introduce herself and kick things off.
Thank you, Jennifer. And as you said, I am Wesley Drelishak. For those listening, I have long blonde hair and I'm wearing a blue sweater today. And I'm so glad to be a co-host with you and look forward to hearing from our wonderful guest speakers that have so much to share with us today. In my work as an education partnerships manager here over the last few years, I work in the southeastern region of the United States, and I get to work with medium to large-sized school districts in support of their social emotional learning, bullying prevention, and child protection initiatives. I'm also currently in a graduate program for school counseling as well, so this is especially exciting for me. I get to learn so much from our amazing speakers for each of these webinars too. And now, just to get us rolling, I want to take a moment to introduce you to Committee for Children. Many of you may know the Second Step program, but may not know that the program is created by a nonprofit based in Seattle, Washington. We do the work to foster the safety and well-being of children through social emotional learning and development since 1979. So we have an impact of over 24 million children every school year with our programs in all 50 states and around the world. And if you'd like to learn more, you can always visit us at cfchildren.org. And then as we begin our time together, I'd also like to point out our commitment to equity as an organization. Our commitment is to recognize, condemn, disrupt, and seek to rectify systemic injustices that create barriers to children's success. In looking at equity in everything that we do, I'd also like to point out that Committee for Children's offices do sit on the unceded traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples, past and present, specifically the first people of Seattle, Washington, the Duwamish tribe. And then a quick look at today's webinar. It's jam-packed full of fun information. We'll do a little bit more welcoming and some introductions. We'll hear from some educators on their thoughts about SEL and life skills. And the main part of our time today will be a spotlight session with Charleston County Schools, working to support students' development and paths towards success. And then we'll hear some tips and strategies from our other guest speaker as well, Counseling with Mr. B's John Burnett. And we'll end our time together sharing a few resources before you go. And then I do think it's a pretty good guess that if you're here joining us live or watching the recording, like us, you have a love of or are very interested in social emotional learning. Some of you, like us, are champions for SEL, and if you are, thank you for all that you do year-round to make SEL a priority. We also see you, and we are proud to stand with you. International SEL Day is an opportunity to focus on social emotional learning and the many positive outcomes for students and school communities in the big and small ways too. And you might be wondering how you can help. You can bring awareness, you can help build community, you can lead advocacy efforts, and you can advocate for more support, and you can learn more on how to champion SEL by visiting the link on the screen here, selday.org. And it is not too late to participate. You're already participating in this webinar today, but there are some great ways to get involved. You can win books for your students. There's a second step photo contest that's open until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight. There's also an advocacy workshop right after this webinar, and you can download some free activities at the link on the screen here. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton back to Jennifer, who will introduce our wonderful speakers and get us started.
Thank you, Wesley. I am so pleased to introduce our speakers for today. They are just, you're going to love them. I don't even want to say too much more, except I will let you know who they are. How about that? First, we have a longtime friend of Committee for Children who I know very well from many years of working with her and her team. Megan Bocchino is a dedicated educator who has served in the field for over 19 years as an elementary teacher, assistant principal, district PBIS coach, and now serves as the director of school climate for Charleston County School District, where students really are the heart of their work, passionate about building relationships and strengthening community. Megan became a certified restorative practices trainer and enjoys providing professional development and coaching others. She believes that teaching social emotional learning benefits both adults and students, advances equitable practices, and are essential life skills students need to become college and career citizens. I look forward to all that you have to share with us today, the bulk of our time with your work in Charleston. Thank you so much, Megan. Do you want to say a quick hello?
Hello, welcome. I'm excited to be here and thanks for having me, and appreciate all those that came to join us.
Wonderful. So next, I'm so happy to introduce John Burnett. In his 12th year in education, he's served as an elementary and middle school counselor, a Spanish teacher, and assistant principal. Currently, he's a middle school counselor at Spring Branch ISD in Texas, content creator and founder of Counseling with Mr. B. He provides engaging and culturally relevant resources, professional development, and training for educators across the globe. He says his personal goal is to continue to make a positive impact in the community and the world. And I don't think that's too grand. I think that's wonderful. Thanks so much for taking time to be here, John. Would you like to say a quick hello as well?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day on a Friday to join us and talk about supporting students, families, and communities. I'm really honored to be here, and I hope that you learned something.
Oh, good. I'm sure they will. So before I toss it over to Megan to really get started, I wanted to I saw all the activity in the chat box as we were getting started. Thanks for putting in some of those things that make you feel joyful about education and where you're from. I love to see, you know, who you are and where you're at. That way it doesn't feel like we're just talking out into nothing. We know you're there. We want to hear from you. So please put your questions and comments in the chat box along the way. Wesley and I will try to answer some things as we go if questions come up. But also if you hear something that's just kind of tracking, you know how sometimes there'll be, you know, snaps or there'll be some kind of thing that you do in a meeting that says, I get it, I hear this, I want to hear more, and this resonates for me. Just put an aha in the chat box. It doesn't have to say anything more than that, or you can put whatever it is that you're having an aha moment about. We love to just hear from you, and that energy, you know, we're all here together. This is like one big training room right now. So I want you to try to put in the energy that says, I'm here, you're here, and we're here to hear from each other and really listen and be a part of it. Even if you don't learn anything new, I guarantee there'll be something that will give you an aha today. So, and just a reminder, because I won't have a chance to say it again, you will get a copy of all the slides and a follow-up link to the recording of this after this session, so you can share it to your heart's desire, come back and review it and get all the information that you might have missed. So with that, I have a video that's going to get us started, and then we'll drop right into Megan's work. I thought this was a good way to kind of give us a little bit of the voice of the educators that are not, besides Megan and John, that are here. We asked some folks in the SEL for EDU Facebook group. I don't know why I was suddenly spacing out on that. The Facebook group is full of educators all over the world. It really is quite diverse. And we asked them, a few of them, to talk about how SEL and life skills fit together. So let me start that video for you.
I have mapped SEL and life skills as per my understanding after reading and gaining knowledge about both. Both programs are important because they provide students with tools and skills they need to navigate complex social and emotional situations, communicate effectively, and make informed decisions. These skills are not only important for academic success, but also for personal growth and development, which can positively impact students' mental health and well-being. By equipping students with these important life skills, we can help them become successful learners and responsible, well-rounded individuals.
Hi, I'm Matt Spohr from the Social Emotional Learning Alliance for California. I think that financial literacy is a big life skill, and financial decisions are emotional decisions. Many financial skills require emotional skills, like delaying gratification, setting goals, and taking another person's perspective.
Social emotional learning is the same as life skills because our emotions are connected to our thoughts and our thoughts are connected to our emotions. So everywhere we go and everything we do, every interaction we have connects to our emotions and our thoughts. And social emotional learning helps us understand our emotions and thoughts, helps us understand how we function, how we work, how we think, how we react or respond. And so when we learn the skills, the tools around that to manage all that and to interact with other people, we are learning skills that will help us throughout our lifetime.
The term life skills as applied into education, I think of two different ways we can use that. One would be a life skill of balancing a checkbook or doing auto mechanic maintenance. And then there's the other application when you have life skills because you're teaching independent living, like how to take care of yourself and how to make breakfast or do the laundry. So where there's an intersectionality of that is it's really all about the person learning about themselves, their strengths, how to communicate, how to set goals. And really that's what social emotional learning is about. So when you think life skills and being able to empower someone to have a good life, that's SEL.
And I think we're going to hear a lot more about how the things intersect and how we prepare kids and how we use those skills for ourselves in the next part of our presentation. So what I'm going to do now is pass the baton over to Megan by giving her the panelist actual baton. I wish it was shaped like baton, don't you? That'd be great. Then we would know how to do it. There you go. Okay. Excuse me. This is to you now, Megan. Hopefully you're able to share as needed. Let me know if you need any assistance with that.
Well, good afternoon, or good morning, or other parts of the world. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Megan Bocchino with Charleston County School District, and appreciate, again, you being here today. I know I'm with Student Support Services in Charleston County School District, and a big motto of our department is always connections before content. And so I love that we already kind of had some opportunity to introduce ourselves and the message about interacting and kind of enjoying and sharing your thoughts and feelings as they come to you during our session. But just in thinking about in honor of International SEL Day, and I'll keep going to respect all of our time, but using that chat box to either share a word or emojis, or what comes to mind when you think about teaching social emotional learning? So a little bit about Charleston County. We are located here in Charleston, South Carolina, and we're the second largest school system in the state and really represent a unique blend of urban, suburban, and rural schools, actually spanning over 1,300 square miles along the coast. Our district serves approximately around 49,000 to 50,000 students in 88 schools and specialized programs. So with such a large district and varying needs across the county, we've always really worked to create systems and practices to support all students. And as Jen mentioned, our journey and implementation district-wide of social emotional learning has been a long one. And we are excited to share a little bit about how maybe some challenges and what our data tells us, and how we've done some alignment to some of life skills in our South Carolina profile of the graduate here today. All right, so here you see Charleston County's just kind of our mission, vision, and our new superintendent, because we've had a lot of changes in our board, our county board, just developed here this school year a new 2027 vision, and we're kind of anchored all the work we do in 3 pillars. And so our Department of Student Support Services houses, we like to call that all the helpers. It is all our school counselors, our school psychologists, and we call it the climate team. But we have district climate coaches, behavior specialists, and social workers. So a lot of our prevention, intervention, and wraparound supports. And with our systems work, we've been a PBIS and MTSS district for many years. And so every summer we do host equity MTSS kind of training. And this past summer, I think really connecting to our why, we shared the following data points anchored to these pillars. So for our rigorous instruction, and I'm sure maybe some of you around the country may find some similarities, but 51% of our students still in Charleston County are reading below grade level. And for students in poverty, that's 75% are still reading below grade level. And for our Black students, 82% are reading below grade level. And we think about that pillar of wraparound services and exclusionary discipline practices. When we think about our total population as a district, white students make up about 50% of the total population, but only about 16% of in-school suspensions and 13% of out-of-school suspensions. And then our Hispanic students make up about 12% of the total population, but yet make up about 8% of our in-school suspensions and 6% of our out-of-school. And our Black students make up about 32% of our total population, but 72% of our in-school suspensions and 77% of our out-of-school. And again, I think that data isn't really staggering and surprising, but it's still very disappointing and unfortunate because being in Charleston County for the past 19 years, our data has really looked very similar. So we've been really trying to take some strides and challenge to think about that equitable practices and the equitable pieces of social emotional learning. And knowing we have a lot of work to do to close that opportunity gap, we really believe that if children are given those resources and opportunities they need to and deserve, that all children can and will succeed. And we connect that and anchor that to the research that shows us that in order to make those academic gains, the students need that direct SEL and life skill instruction to include mental health and to feel kind of safe and connected and have that sense of belonging to school. So the panorama data. So as we have been on our journey for implementation of district-wide, we've been using Second Step for our CD through 8th grade, our early learning through 8th grade students for about 7 or 8 years now. But we were missing really that authentic voice from students. We started implementing at the tail end of COVID, also with children returning from being out of school or out of school buildings, working with Panorama to implement the climate survey. We wanted that feedback. And again, here are some data points for us that are areas for growth. So some opportunities still, but again, connected to those academic and that data point that we know we have work to do. If 73% of our students are responding favorably about self-management, but only about half of those students reported they were able to remain and stay calm over the past 30 days when someone was bothering them or saying mean things. And then across every single one of our middle and high schools, their lowest area topic was sense of belonging. So only 47% of our students in 6 through 12 really felt that sense of belonging connected this. And then 36% of those students felt connected to an adult in their school building. So I just pause for a moment of just thinking about data that you have for your district or your school or your classroom. And what does that mean? Do you see any similarities? Do you see any opportunities for growth or considerations? And certainly share things that you have learned along your way and journey that may be supporting SEL implementation and those academic outcomes. So, of course, when we think about supporting our schools and developing those school climates and positive student, adult, and student to student and adult to adult relationships, of course, we go to our social emotional learning. We love CASEL because they're really that research hub and set a lot of groundwork and a lot of great resources out there. And they really showed that highlighted that SEL instruction is done best through that ecosystem there, all those layerings of different places and people. And like John said earlier, just not only through your school and your classroom, but families and into the community. How do we all work together to support that? So when we started with our SEL implementation, we of course had challenges and funding and barriers along the way. COVID happened. But sadly for us, it really wasn't as much that COVID. We knew that our students always needed this, that needs have certainly increased. But for us here in South Carolina, it's been the political pushback around the terminology and language of SEL and lots of misunderstandings connected to critical race theory and controversy, lawsuits, and new school board members, and even sometimes that idea and misunderstanding, again, to me, that SEL really shouldn't be taught in schools, that we should be sticking to those basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. So we had to do some more work. So again, nationally, we use that CASEL wheel and framework with those core competencies, but locally, and we've used resources and been excited to partner with our state Department of Education. So it's always, as educators, we all know that life skills and SEL have been taught for decades and decades in schools, and that students need these essential skills in order to be, for us, that college, career, and citizenship ready. As a state that doesn't have SEL standards, that's where it's been a challenge for us, because academically we've been able to anchor to those and connect back to those state standards. So we got creative, and again, I give the compliments to our State Department of Education, but created our South Carolina profile of a graduate, and then thinking about how do we make that profile actionable, and how do we connect it to SEL and life skills. And so our solution here was to explore that language of SEL being connected to life skills and the competencies there. So you'll see these more complex, there's 12 different competencies that were developed, and those are the skills that are going to be taught across grade levels, K through 12, and across content areas. And so to take that one step further, the State Department again aligned the profile of the South Carolina graduate to the actual CASEL competencies. So that crosswalk piece there. And you'll share the whole website, so you'll get to be able to dig into all the tools and resources that are there. So I have that linked in later. So I just wanted to show that one example. The crosswalk's divided into 5 sections, one for each of the CASEL competencies, and then each of the CASEL competencies is broken down into those skills and linked to our profile of the graduate competencies. Again, so you can kind of see it all aligned and following this, and they've actually even developed these really comprehensive rubrics for each of the competencies as well, so that students can self-reflect, self-score. Teachers can use those tools in their classrooms to kind of measure progress along the way. And so what's that mean specific to us? I wanted to share again some extra resources we've developed along the way to show that alignment between SEL competencies, life skills, and becoming college, career, and citizenship ready. So we do have I know like all states, an evaluation system. So to not make it feel like one more thing for educators, but our crosswalk document is really aligning our PBIS, our second step, our restorative practice language back to our district evaluation tool. So again, how do we make those connections? You have a sample of our monthly climate newsletter where we use that scope and sequence and share out tips that have family parent connections. This March feature has things about resources from Rethink Ed, Second Step on SEL Day. And then I wasn't going to show all these videos, but I do encourage you to spend some time when you get the resources. But there's real world examples. So this is a video at Zucker, one of our middle schools, and it's the school resource officer and the school counselor, and they call it the word on the street. But they kick off their and this specifically is about staying calm, but they school-wide kick off their SEL instruction weekly. And then again, you've got representation, you got adults working in the field that look like students at the school and sharing those tips and examples of how do you stay calm? What are some other ideas and ways to stay calm? And the social awareness video down here is one of our East Cooper Montessori School. And this is part 2. And they do these annually, and just kind of highlighting how you can integrate the arts and service learning and wonderful projects. And so this was the culmination of a large social justice unit. And the project was all focused on identity and who am I and how do others see me. And so local artists and poets, and we're all part of that work. So again, that one's a little longer, but again, worth your time. And here is that link to this State Department resources. So that's their SEL page. And at the top, you'll see all the links to the multiple competency documents, as well as other wonderful, great resources for social emotional learning and implementation. But just I really wanted to close out today with a video of our students at Camp Road Middle School sharing about their experience as middle schoolers and what their social emotional learning has meant to them and how they apply that. So let me see if I can do it through the media share.
Be the cause of it, and it's not just you who cause it, other people cause it too.
Some common emotions middle school students experience is stress and embarrassment.
Stress, embarrassment, anxiety.
Probably stress and anger.
Middle school is like a combust of emotions.
Stress, anxiety, sadness.
Usually just like little things that get in my way, like what's going on at home or like stuff that's happening at school.
I would agree. The little things can be like very distracting and kind of set like your whole day off.
6th or 8th I feel like is really hard because you're just coming in and then you're like leaving and the work is getting harder.
I've seen people like just stressing out about like how things are going at school, and some people outside of school.
It can be very stressful, just other peers putting pressure and teachers.
What I like to do is I like to just like put on like music and maybe like draw or like write something.
Talking about my emotions helps me with like my anxiety and like the kind of bigger emotions.
I think one of the things is like time management and like doing assignments before they're due.
Writing my emotions down to help deal with stress.
I'll read a book or sometimes talking, but reading the book will really like just help me kind of go into another world.
You don't have to be popular or fit in to be happy.
I write about my feelings a lot, and I feel like talking too helps me, but I feel like writing, I get to keep it to myself, but also getting it out.
Empathy for me is like understanding what other people are going through and be able to like understand their situation.
Putting yourself in another's position to understand how they feel, so that way you can either help understand how they feel and listen to them, or try and figure out how to help them.
I think that empathy is just kind of like seeing how somebody else is like living and kind of like what is going on in their life.
Some people are going through like really, really tough times, and you just have to be like mindful of that and just not say something that could be like potentially rude or mean.
I feel like if everyone just had like a little bit more empathy, that things wouldn't be like so, a lot of people wouldn't be as mean if they understood what other people were going through.
Just what it feels like to maybe be live in the day of the shoes of a middle school student, and how they handle and kind of process some of those emotions. And I think I'd close out on that happy SEL day. And if like she said there, if we all just could have a little bit more empathy and understanding.
That is the key. I think you're right. Well, let's take just a moment. We have a couple seconds here, a few minutes if we wanted to. If there's any questions for Megan that have come up, I saw some ahas in there. I know a lot of them were from me, but I still feel a lot of aha for the things that you are talking about. And I'm even familiar with the work you do. So I love that video of the kids. I hope that that will inspire you to ask your kids, ask your students, you know, maybe if you're even still in class today for SEL Day, you can ask them what are the skills that they think SEL skills will prepare them for life. How will that help them in their lives now and in the future? So appreciate the participation. And if there's any questions, I'm seeing some good comments. Yes, we can talk about it all day long, but it's important to hear from them. Thank you, Morgan. That is really great. I agree. I have a high schooler and then an adult daughter now. So I do ask them those questions, and, you know, sometimes I still get the eye roll, but a lot of times they actually do want to tell me, you know, what they think. So any other questions? Did we see anything in there, Wesley, that I didn't see that we should touch before we let Megan go? And we're on to John.
No, just some amazing aha moments. I'm still reading, but no questions.
Okay, great. Well, then it's time to move on to our next speaker. We'll get you all set up here, John. Just one second, make you the presenter. There you are. And this is, as I think Wesley put it in the chat box, it is a Technology Friday. So we're doing our best here, but you know how it is. I'm so thankful that the world turned virtual, because now we're not the only ones that have those struggles. Actually, I think it's WebEx that's struggling today, not us, you guys. All right, on to you, John. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to hear what you have to share.
Can everybody see my face, my picture? Okay, good. Hi, everybody. My name is John Burnett. I am a school counselor living in Houston, Texas. Born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been in Houston for about 5 years now. Absolutely love it. I am a content creator and school counselor. In my education, I've been 12 years working in different various school settings. I've worked as an elementary school counselor, middle school counselor, Spanish teacher, assistant principal, and then I worked in the mental health side, so I was doing family intervention. So I would go to families' homes and do, I wouldn't say therapy, but I would work with them on communication skills and de-escalation. And it actually was really important because it helped me to transition those same skills over as a school counselor. So I really enjoyed working in mental health first and then jumping into school counseling. I also have a YouTube channel and Instagram where I support educators all across the globe. So I share resources, videos, tips on how to, like various things like bullying, anxiety, depression, mental health, helping teachers with classroom management, just all kinds of skills. So if you get a chance, check me out on some of my social media channels. They're on the screen. You can find me on YouTube with CounselingwithMrB. So on Instagram with CounselingwithMrB, and then on Twitter at Mr. B Counseling 7. I wanted all of them to be the same, but unfortunately, Twitter has a cap on how many characters you can use for your username. So I had to be creative. But anyways, so I do share lots of things on there. So I'm a big champion of social emotional learning as a school counselor, which I'm sure you can guess that, but still, I just want to make sure that I made that known. So I want to talk to you all about how, from my perspective, especially as a school counselor, how social emotional learning is important to our students, staff, and families. So there's a couple different things here. I use if you go through any school, you can look at their mission and vision, and you can kind of see where social emotional learning is intertwined in that language, but it's kind of hidden. So I want to read mine. My school's mission is to guarantee exceptional academic and social learning for all students. And it doesn't go into details on how to do that, but as a school counselor, that's where we come in and we make those things known, and all the other stakeholders in the building, like the teachers and anyone else in the building like involved in climate and culture. But SEL is super important. We talk about academics and getting our students successful, making sure that they graduate, make sure they have good grades, making sure that they're doing everything they need to do in order to pass and get to the next grade. But social emotional learning is a huge part of that too, because what happens if you're making good grades, but then you don't know how to regulate your emotions, or you don't know how to talk effectively to your teammates or your coworkers, or you don't know how to work with a team. That's where the social emotional side comes in those 5 competencies from CASEL. So it's really important for our students to develop character, grit, and a growth mindset. I always tell my students all the time, as an adult, like we share like tips on how to like bounce back and resiliency and all those things, but we also have to take that same advice for ourselves. We can teach it to our students all day long, but we have to remember too, when we have a bad day, it's okay to like bounce back and start over. And again, I'm regulating your emotions, making sure that we, calming down, deep breathing, finding ways to take care of yourself after a long day. So I don't know about you all, but I have a long commute to go to work. I have an hour drive. Generally, it's a little over an hour, sometimes with traffic. And so I've learned to use that time to listen to podcasts and to do the things that I need to do to take care of myself and listen to music and playlists and different things. And another part of social emotional learning, again, is learning how to collaborate with diverse people and those communication skills. So let's talk about why it's important. So anything that we do is grounded in research. And so this research comes from Transforming Education. And this part is the self-management. It was also other ones too, but it's the self-management part of CASEL's social emotional learning. But in order for our students to be, and our staff to be successful, there's 3 areas that working with social emotional learning can help support that. So academics. So if we teach our students how to do mindfulness exercising, deep breathing, all those things, it can improve their cognitive performance, engagement, it can increase their focus, their attention. And if we have any classroom teachers in here, who doesn't want their students to be focused, right? So these are like, if you do some simple exercises like mindfulness and deep breathing, it helps your students to be back on track and get refocused. Especially if you have a class that you teach right after lunch or recess, and they come in and they're excited and they have all the energy and you want to get them regrounded. Do a quick deep breathing exercise with them to kind of get them to, regulate and be back on track. But it's also health benefits associated with these things, such as reducing anxiety, reducing stress, reducing depression, decreasing blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, these are other things that can help. And that's just on the academic side and a little bit on the health side too. And it also increases your self-compassion, not for yourself, but also giving you some compassion for other people, and lowers self-harm. So when I watched that video that Megan shared, I was thinking, wow, these are what middle schoolers really are saying about the things that they're experiencing in class. And these are ways that we can support them. And unfortunately, if you're a classroom teacher, you may feel like you may not have enough time in the day because you've got a curriculum you have to teach. You got state standards, you got a state assessment coming up pretty soon. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring everybody out on Friday, but it's just reality. That's what it is. But if you start teaching our students how to reduce anxiety or test taking skills, this is going to help them. And then of course the social behaviors. We were talking about diversity and making sure that we honor and respect different types of people. It also helps you to think about your responses before you say something. So there are a lot of different benefits associated with social emotional learning, and the research supports it. We just have to make time to do it. So here's some of the ways that I've done this as a school counselor. Again, I talked about the deep breathing. Deep breathing is one of my specialties because I always tell my students, if there's one way that doesn't work for you, I'll teach you a couple and I'll let you pick. And if that doesn't work, I've got other ones, so don't feel bad. I promise. It's not gonna hurt my feelings if you come back to me and say, Mr. Burnett, it didn't work. I promise I've got other ones. You try until you find your just right fit. Because what may work for me may not work for you. So I was telling them all the time. But I give them a lot of different coping skills and I give them choice. And I teach them different ways to take care of themselves. Like just yesterday, I had a student come to me and she's experiencing some grief. She had a tragedy in her family and she was having panic attacks throughout the day. And so I just gave her a list of coping skills and I talked her through it, of course, honoring and validating her emotions, letting her know that what she was experiencing was normal. And then I gave her some ways that she can take care of herself when she's not with me. And I also manage our school social media on top of my own social media. So I share like quotes, videos, all these things for our students on our school account. And this is one of the slides that I share with them. I talked about the benefits of showing gratitude. And again, these are health benefits: increasing your dopamine levels, making you feel good, decreasing stress, again, lowering blood pressure, helping you build those connections with people, your families, and then community members. It also boosts self-esteem. So we live in a world where there's so many things that are affecting our self-esteem. It could be the media, it could be social media, it could be other people. But just simple acts of showing gratitude and compassion can increase your own self-esteem. And it increases your lifespan, so it helps you live longer. So I love short form and long form videos. So again, I have my YouTube channel and my Instagram, and I even have TikTok, which I use every once in a while. It's all the same, Counseling with Mr. B. But I do short form videos, and I share a lot of these with our students just because I want them to be able to digest that information. And I found that this is the most effective way that, communicate with them and get on their level. So before I play this video, and I hope that it works, I also want to talk a little bit more about how I use Instagram for social emotional learning. Last May, I sent out a poll on our social media account. I just did a little Instagram poll for our students. And I asked them 4 questions. What areas are you experiencing right now? And one of the choices was anxiety, depression, friendship issues. And what was the other one? There was one other one. I forget what the other one was. But a lot of them talked about having anxiety and depression. And it was an anonymous survey because, most times when students have Instagrams, they don't use their real accounts or their real names or even their real pictures, right? So I told them, feel free to answer realistically because it's going to help me make interventions and programs for you. And so I had an overwhelming response of students say that they were experiencing anxiety and depression. So I created a mental health fair. I organized my school's first mental health fair. So it was a really simple thing. It was after school. I asked the teachers in my building to host a booth or an activity, really simple things that they could do within 5 and 10 minutes. And so we had positive affirmations, we had mindfulness, we had yoga. One of our teachers went the extra mile and she bought a smoothie, a blender, and she made smoothies and talked about how fruit connects to our brain function and mental health. And she let the students sample the smoothie. It was really awesome. It was delicious too. So I was hats off to you for going the extra mile. But that idea for that mental health fair came from the Instagram poll. So it shows that our students are going to tell you what they need if you just simply ask them and really listen to what they're saying. And the families were able to come, and so they really, really enjoyed it. And it was a great event for our entire school. And again, it came from a simple poll. It was really easy. And I actually made a YouTube video on how I organized that. So if you're interested in making it a mental health fair at your school, it's really, really simple. I promise it did not take much time at all. And it was really low maintenance. So if you want to check out that video, check out my channel, Counseling with Mr. B. And I'm going to try to see if this video plays to give you an idea of 5 very simple social emotional activities you can do in your classroom that take between 2 and 5 minutes. Because again, we want to honor your time as a teacher and make sure that you have time to do the other things that you are required to do from your district. So let me see if this is going to play for y'all. And if it doesn't, I'm actually just going to share the link.
Here are 5 ways you can easily include SEL lessons into your daily practice. You can teach your students some simple deep breathing exercises. You can post some positive affirmations on your smartboard and share with your students and have them pick their own, and you pick one too. This will set the tone for your day and your week. Acts of gratitude are really simple to do too. Think of a couple things that you're grateful for and encourage your students to do the same thing. You and your students can set daily or weekly goals for themselves academically and socially. Be sure to track your success to make sure you're meeting your goals. You can teach social skills like empathy and respect using character books or novels, depending on your grade level. Follow me for more ideas on how to help your students succeed academically and socially.
I'll go ahead and play it for anybody who's not still hearing John. This is our way of saying thank you to all of you for the things you do for SEL, all the things John does, the things Megan and her team do. We really appreciate you, so we created this short little video.
Second Step educators, you know the value of gratitude, and no one deserves gratitude more than you. Today on SEL Day, we at Committee for Children would like to share our gratitude for all the work you're doing to support your students.
Second Step programs wouldn't exist without educators to put them into practice. While we work hard on the back end to craft these experiences, without you dedicated educators, it wouldn't reach the kids. So for that, thank you.
To educators all around the world, thank you for taking the small steps every day to make social-emotional learning a part of your school communities. We know the little things you do in and outside the classroom are just as important as the big things.
Relationships are foundational to the success of our programs. And so I want to thank you for always prioritizing relationships with your students, with your colleagues, families, and your communities. Your commitment to forging positive relationships is one of the things that makes the Second Step community so special.
Kids need positive role models to show them what social emotional learning looks like in action. Thank you for embodying those qualities for your students. They look to you for inspiration and guidance, and that's not an easy role to fill.
Thank you for showing up every day, for modeling for your kids how to be present, how to take care of others and yourself. Thank you for inspiring a process of lifelong learning and growing.
Sometimes we make educators out to be saints, and in my view, you are. We also recognize that you have put in an amazing amount of commitment, time, and effort to become the professional educator you are. Thank you for integrating Second Step programs into your professional practice and for prioritizing this work. We're all better because of it.
To Second Step educators everywhere, I want to thank you for what you do every day to make our programs the leading social emotional learning curricula in education. I'm deeply inspired by what you do.
Okay, for anyone who's still with us, just another thank you. I'll leave you with our contact information. Actually, I want to leave you with our Facebook group if you're interested in joining us. We have over 10,000 people in that group. I hope you're in there, John. That Facebook group has tons of people, whether you're using Second Step or not, honestly, that are just having great conversation about all the things you can do to help your students, the struggles that you might be feeling like Megan was in their part of the country with helping to explain what social emotional learning is, to understand our newer programs, if you're coming from the older versions, all kinds of things, ideas, and resources too that people have made and are sharing. It's a wonderful place to connect. So join us in our Facebook group, and I hope you'll join us for another webinar in the future. It really is I don't know if there's any last final words from you, John and Megan, that you'd like to share with our group to say happy SEL Day and to honor that work. Well, I will love to offer one last thing as we're leaving to think about what your SEL superpower is. I think mine is relationship building, and it makes me want to put a big hug around my panelists and all of you. What's your superpower, Wesley?
I've always prided myself on responsible decision-making skills. I don't know if I'm an overthinker, but I always look through all the solutions before I come up with one.
And you, John, what do you think?
My superpower is being able to see the good in most situations. So empathy and learning how to turn lemons into lemonade.
Great. And Megan, what do you think?
I would say seeking first to understand. So doing a lot of good listening and that self-awareness and reflection as well.
Wonderful. These are all good. This is what makes the world go round. Well, thank you everyone once again to our panelists or our speakers and to Wesley from all of us at Committee for Children. Please have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope to see you back here again soon and a good weekend too. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.